Very good evening, everyone. We'll be starting our presentation sessions now. Uh, as I can see, you guys have already raised your hands, so we'll go by the order of raised hands. First, as I can see that we have Tanu with us. Yes, Tanu, you can share your screen.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you can start.
Sir, is my screen visible to you?
Yes.
Okay, sir. So, good evening, everyone. Myself, Tanu from AWS Cloud Department, and my project name is Cloud Engineering Internship Program, and my task name is Get Started with AWS. So, today I'm going to show you and present you that what is the need and what is the importance that why we were using a S3 in AWS. So the reason is AWS S3 is a cloud storage service that allow us to store and retrieve data from anywhere on the web. It is highly scalable and reliable, and is used in all the businesses of all the size to store and protect their data. AWS S3 is integrated with other processing pipelines and has a various features such as versioning lifecycle, bucket policies, and more. And we can manage our data effectively. So this is the reason that why we were using the AWS S3 in Amazon. So now moving to the next. So these are the table of contents which I'm going to discuss one by one. So first of all, what is the definition and what do you understand by the AWS S3? Next, what are the key features and what are the benefit of AWS S3? After that, getting started with AWS S3 with the live demonstration. After that, how to manage our AWS S3 bucket. After, how to secure our AWS S3 and how to integrating AWS S3 with other service. And at the last, conclusion. So what do you understand by AWS S3? So AWS S3 is basically an Amazon cloud storage service that allow us to store and retrieve data easily and securely. It is scalable and reliable, commonly used for backups and content distribution. In AWS S3, what we have to do, like we can see in the diagram here is the S3. So in this we have to basically first of all create a bucket. In the bucket then we can upload the object and we can store the files or in the forms of folders. So this is the simple storage service. We can store all the data and retrieve from anywhere. So now these are the AWS S3 key features and the benefits. So what is the difference between the features and the benefits? So feature describe what a product or service does, while benefit explain how it can help the user. So features are basically characteristics of a product or the service, while the benefit are the advantages that user can gain by using it. So the main features of the AWS S3, it basically provide a scalable storage, simple management, flexible pricing, and the integration with AWS services. And it is the highly availability. So these are the main benefits. So these are the main features of the AWS S3 which provided. So now what are the main benefit of the AWS S3? It is durable and reliable storage. It is cost effective. It is reliable. So these are the key features and the benefit of the AWS S3. So now getting started with AWS S3, that what we learn. So first of all, we will create and configure a bucket. So what do you understand by a bucket? Bucket is basically a container for storing object where which are in the files or the folders metadata. Buckets are like a folders that provide features such as versioning, lifecycle policies, access control. Now after that we upload the object. So object, what are the objects? So object is in the file and the folder which store in the bucket. So after that, we view the object, organize the object, how to delete the object, and how to delete the bucket. Now I am giving the live demonstration that how to learn this and how to configure this AWS S3. So this is the link. Sir, is my screen visible to you?
Yes.
Okay, sir. So this is the Amazon S3 Home Console. Now we can see this here. Create a bucket. We have to click on this. After creating this, we have to give the name, and we have to give the bucket name as a globally unique name, bucket name. So I am giving like, after giving the globally unique name of the bucket name, after that we have to just click on the create bucket. Here we can see that our bucket is successfully created. Now what we have to do, we have to just click on bucket name. Here we can upload the object. So we have to just upload. Now, when we are uploading the object, we have to add the files from anywhere. Now I am add this file. So now just click on the upload. So now we can see that our object is uploaded, and we have basically, now what we have to do, we have to just close to continue. After creating this, we have to create a folder. Now give the name of the folder, like I'm giving the name of the folder images. After giving the name of the folder, just click on the create folder. After this, we can see here that our folder is created successfully. Now, after we have to click on the action to move the object upload to our folder. So here we have to browse S3. We have to navigate our folder and choose the destination. After this, we have to just click on the move. So now we can see that our object is moved successfully in our folder. So just click on the close to continue. After that, we have to click on the images to see the overview. Yeah, we can see here the object URL is appended by the prefix name that we have created the image. So we can see here that our object is uploaded in our folder that we have created in the images. Here the open is button is here, we can see here. So yeah, this is the our image that we have uploaded. So now the last step is that how to delete the buckets. So now going back to the bucket, we have to click on the bucket name. We have to click on the empty. So first of all, we can't directly delete the bucket. We have to just empty the bucket. We have to write the permanently delete. Just click on the empty. We can see that our bucket is successfully emptied. Now we can delete our bucket. So we have to click on this. So now delete. After, we have to give the name in this dialog box that we have created the bucket name. Just click on the delete bucket. So finally, successfully, our bucket is deleted. So in AWS S3, what we have learned that how to create a bucket, how to configure, how to upload the object, how to view the object, how to delete the bucket. So these are the, so now coming back to our slide. So in this, how to manage our AWS S3 bucket. So to manage our AWS S3 bucket, we need to first understand that how to upload and download the files. Uploading file is basically as simple as dragging and dropping them into the bucket using the AWS Management Console or the AWS CLI. CLI is basically a command line interface. So downloading files can be done through the same method, but it's important to set permission to ensure that only authorized users can access the file. This is the main point, that how to manage our AWS S3 bucket. So setting permission is crucial for maintaining the security for our AWS S3 bucket. We can use access control list and the bucket policies that to manage our AWS S3 buckets. Configure life cycle policies allow us to automatically move objects between storage classes or delete them when they are no longer needed. So these are the step, or these are the process that how to manage our AWS S3 bucket. So now, how to secure our AWS S3 bucket. So when it comes to securing our AWS S3 bucket, there are several important factors to consider. First and foremost, we need to ensure that our bucket is only accessible to authorized user. This can be achieved by using AWS Identity and Access Management (IAM) to control who has access to our bucket in the bucket policies. Another important factor to consider is encryption. In encryption, we can basically hide our data which are we able to store. By default, AWS S3 encrypts all the data at rest using server-side encryption. However, we can also choose to use client-side encryptions for adding layer of the security additional. We should always use SSL or TLS when transferring data to and for our bucket to protect against man in the middle attacks. So these are the factors, or these are the process that how to secure our AWS S3 bucket. So now, how to integrating with AWS S3 with other AWS S3. So AWS S3 not just a standalone storage service, it can be integrated with other. So AWS S3 service to create powerful solution. One such integration in Amazon EC2, which allow us to store and retrieve data. It is the main point that AWS S3 do. This can be particularly useful for applications that require frequent access to the large files. So another integration option is with the AWS Lambda. We can integrate AWS with other services, or also us to trigger Lambda functions based on the changes. Here, the Lambda is basically a compute services. This can be used to automate processes such as image resizing or video transcoding. With AWS S3 flexibility and scalability, the possibilities for integration are endless. So this is how to integrate AWS S3 with the other AWS S3. The main is AWS with the AWS Lambda or trigger Lambda function we can integrate. So now, in the conclusion, why AWS S3 is the future of storage. This is the main reason, that what is the reason behind this, that why we were using the AWS S3 in the Amazon, and what is the future of the storage, what is the main point. So AWS S3 is the future of storage for businesses. Its scalability and flexibility make it the ideal solution for companies for all the sizes. With AWS S3, businesses can easily store and manage their data. Furthermore, as technology continues to evolve, so does the need for the efficient and reliable storage solution. AWS S3 is consistently innovating and improving, ensuring that it remains at the forefront of the industry. By adopting AWS S3, business can future-proof their storage need and stay ahead of the competition. So this is the reason behind this, that why we were using the AWS S3 in the future. So yeah. Thank you for your attention. So please may ask any question. So, sir, I have done.
Right. So, yeah. See, talking about the demo part first, there was a proper flow of your task demo. You did it very well, and you explained everything in the demo part. Now, talking about the PPT side, see, at some slides there are. Uh, let's take about this table of content. Or click on the fifth slide.
Which one, sir?
Fifth.
Fifth? Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as I can see, you have properly used like pointers, है ना? Single
Yes,
single
sir.
liners. But as you descend to the seventh slide and afterwards, I can see that there are uses of paragraphs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which doesn't look good. So you should be either you can use combination of paragraphs and pointers, or just use pointers, because anyway you are going to explain it, right? So no need of using such paragraphs.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Secondly, are you taking questions?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
Okay. So there's a question. So since S3 is a storage service, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the limitation of S3?
So there is no limitation. We can store large amount of data in this. AWS S3 has basically three types of storage: infrequent, glacier. In glacier, we can store a huge amount of data, and we can retrieve from many of the months or the decades. So
Yeah, as I can see in this current slide itself, you have uh, showed S3s in a pictorial presentation view, right? So as I can see, S3 has buckets that
yes, sir.
stores, right? So don't you think this bucket number might be a limit?
Sir, if the large amount is there, we can store in AWS SDK or in AWS CLI.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Na, ki, are there any limitations specific to the storage service?
Sir, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. The answer is that yes, there is a limitation for every account because you just created an account, right? So yeah, there is a limitation of like 100 buckets being provided for a single
Okay,
account. Yeah, so companies with very large data or has like ample of data. So
okay, sir.
yeah, there that could be a limitation. Yeah, that's all. Rest you can improve on your PPT formatting. As I said, we just replace those paragraphs. Rest you have
Okay,
used good charts and good pictorial presentation to uh, relay your task, and that is a very good part. And lastly, can you just scroll down
which slide,
to
sir?
the last slide?
11th.
Yeah, 11th. Right. So just click on the 10th one.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as I can see, you added a conclusion slide,
Yes, sir.
but you must have gathered all this data from sources, different sources, right? So there has to
Yes.
be a reference slide including those links.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, and Q&A, and just try to keep Q&A slide and thank you slide separate in separate slides.
Okay, sir.
Okay, with your email account in the
Okay, sir.
Q&A slide. So when you ask, even if someone has any
But
question,
sir, in the first slide, I
I know
added my.
I saw, but again
Okay, sir.
afterwards in the Q&A slide, just add your contact details. Okay,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
and yeah, add a reference slide so you can improve on the ending part of the presentation.
Okay, sir.
That's
Thank you, sir.
sure. Right. So let's move forward. Next, we have Nidhi with us. Yeah, Nidhi, you can unmute yourself and share your screen. So it's the same task.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Nidhi. I am from Cloud Computing Group, and my topic today is to get started with AWS S3. So, let's just start. So, what's in it for you? We will discuss about cloud storage, types of it, everything about S3, its benefits, and then we will discuss about S3 with a live demonstration, the storage features, and then we will end our PPT with a conclusion. So, let's start. So let's say you have a company and your company is producing 10 terabytes of data every single day, and you have purchased that much amount of servers to hold that data for every single day. And let's say this amount of data you are producing, it's for 6 months. So let's say in the seventh month you are already producing for 500 MB of data. So what is the use of those servers which you have produced, which you have used for the higher amount of data? That will be wasted. Other than that, you have bought it, that that was also expensive. So there are many difficulties with the servers that we have bought. So there is an option with AWS, that is cloud storage, that is provided by AWS, where you can just store your data, and that data can be of files or your videos or your images, anything, even the code. So you can just store your data and can back up the data over the internet. So AWS provide us with the feature of cloud storage. So as you can see in the picture, we have different type of baskets. So similarly, AWS have different type of cloud storages. And the main feature out of all the storages is for pay for what you use. You just have to pay for the data or for the cloud storage that you are using, and for how much amount you're using, and how much scale you're using for that. And if you're not using that, for example, for a 500 MB of data, you will pay for 500 MB of data only. You don't have to pay for 10 terabytes of data. So main feature here was pay for what you use. So let's start with cloud storage. So as you can see in the picture, there are many cloud storage, and some of them are, first one is S3, which we will talk about in our PPT. Next one is EBS. It stands for Elastic Block Storage. Now, Elastic Block Storage is used for storing the data that is related to your instance that we have done on EC2. Next is EFS, which stands for Elastic File Storage. Here you can store your files. Next is Glacier. It's a type of S3 storage also, where you can just, it's like an ocean. You just have to dump your data and you can store unlimited amount of data in Glacier. Then we have Storage Gateway, and then we have Snow Family. Snow Family is basically used for data transfers from one account to another, or within the accounts for heavier amount of data. So here we will discuss in this PPT about S3. So let's say we don't have S3, and or we can say you don't know about S3. So what were the challenges that we were facing before S3? First of all, when we were having our servers, finding your data, storing it, or maintaining it, it was a really tedious job. Other than that, whenever you are running your application, the data it produces would also too much, and that cannot be stored in every of the server. Next is backing up emails. For a large amount of data, it was so expensive that you have to pay a lot. Other than that, for expensive, securities was also a problem. How to back up the data was also the problem. So there were many problems before S3. So when S3 comes, all of these problems were solved. So now what is S3? S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. It's an object storage. Now here is a key point, object storage. Not every storage is object storage. For example, if I talked about EBS, it's a block storage. And S3 is an object storage where you store your objects. So S3 is basically, it's for storing and recovering any amount of data from anywhere. It doesn't matter where are you on this planet. You can access your buckets. Later on I will discuss about what is bucket. You can access your data from everywhere, anywhere, and at any point of time. It doesn't matter if it's 12 AM or 2 PM, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about benefits. First one is durability. So let's say you have stored your data today, and after 10 years, you are accessing that same data. It will be same. There will be no difference. So that's why this is one of the benefits of S3, which is durability. Next is low cost. As I already told you, you don't have to buy large amount of servers for this small amount of data. So you just have to pay for what you use. Therefore, it is for low cost. Next is scalability. Scalability is basically how much you are storing your data at which scale. That means if you're storing less data, you can just reduce your buckets. If you're storing for larger amount of data, you can just increase your buckets. Depends on you how much data you do have. Availability. It's not like you're storing your data and afterwards you're retrieving it. You will take 1 hour for that. No, it's not like that. Your data will be available within seconds or even less than that. Next is security. Now, security is one of the important feature of AWS. So it is provided with every features of AWS, whether that be of EC2 instances or any of the feature or cloud or anything. Security is their main priority. So that priority will come with storage as well. Next is flexibility. And the last one is simple data transfer. You can just store your data very simply. It's not like you have to do any amount of coding for that. No, just simply click on create bucket and just have to store. And later on, I will discuss about how to do that. So there are some points in storing your data. So let's talk about what is object and bucket. Object is just nothing. It's your data which you will store. It can be a data, it can be key, it can be metadata. Metadata is basically data about data. For example, if you have a file, if you have a photo, and if you click on properties, you will get on how much, what's the size of that photo, when you stored it, will you delete everything about that. That's basically a metadata. Your data can be of video, a code, a file, anything. That's your object. Next, I will talk about is a bucket. Bucket is nothing, it's just a folder where you store your data. So your data was the object and the folder is the bucket. So this is how things work in S3. Now S3 provides 99.11% of durability, 99.99% of availability. That means you can just access your data anywhere at any time. So here, as you can see in the picture, in every account there is a default value. You have 100 buckets per account, but it's just for, by default. You can just increase your bucket, but there is also a limit for that. And you can store 5 terabyte of object in a single bucket. So now you can imagine how large the S3 storage is. And the last one is S5 GB per put. Put is basically if you are demanding more amount of data to put in your S3 bucket, you can do as well that. So I will just give you a live demonstration. So is my screen visible? Okay, sir. Just have to sign in your console. When you just have to write AWS Management Console in your browser, and you will just land on this page. On search option or in the services, that is, you can see in your left, you can just write S3, and it will just take you the dashboard of S3. Here we will create bucket. As I already told you, what is the bucket? Bucket is nothing, just a folder where you will store your data. So let's just create a bucket. And as you can see in the right side, there is a word written global here before my name. That means S3 is a global service. It is not limited to a region or an availability zone. It's a global feature. That means you can access it from anywhere. So let's just create a bucket, or in simple terms, we can say just create a folder, my AWS bucket simply. And as you can see, later it's written AWS region. You can choose your region as well, but still it's a global feature. And then here a word written is bucket versioning. I will talk about later on this. What is this? And just you have to create a bucket. Oh, my name. Let me just rename it. So you just have to pay attention to your bucket name as well. It has some rules to name your bucket. So as you can see, our bucket is successfully created. So when I will just click on my bucket, here you can see on the orange box, it's written upload. Upload is basically you are putting your data in your S3 bucket. So let me just add file, which data I want to use. So you just have to browse it and then just open, and just click on upload, and it's uploading the data, and finally it's uploaded. So that's how you create your bucket, upload your data. You can have your folders, multiple folders. You can have multiple buckets, but of course up to a limit. And you can just delete it if you don't want your bucket. It's not like when you have uploaded your data in that, it's not like that data will be forever in that. No, you can just delete it, upload it, and new data in that. It's completely your wish. Let's back to our slides. So we have done a live demonstration of how to create a bucket and upload a file. So let's talk about how S3 works. So as you can see in a picture, there is a user and a bucket and a black circle. That's, for example, say an object. For example, you can say it's an image. So when you are creating your bucket or you're putting your data in your bucket, you have to define which type of bucket, which type of storage class you are putting your data in. So for example, when you are using your computer or your laptop, you're storing your data. We have different drives. For example, C drive, D drive, A drive. So it's a choice where you are putting your data. Similarly, in S3, we have different drives, and in those drives are known as storage classes in S3. So it's completely your wish where you want to store your data. And S3 also have some features. For example, lifecycle policies, versioning, bucket policy that I will discuss later. So you just have to specify which storage class you want to store your data in. So these are some storage classes. So let me just explain this with the help of an example of a school. First one is S3 standard. This is the first storage class. This is used for frequent data access. For example, student attendance. As you can see, attendance is taken on everyday basis. And so data for that is for frequent access. So we will store our student attendance in our frequent S3 standard frequent. Next is S3 standard for infrequent data access. For example, academic records of student. Let's say teacher is taking tests on monthly basis. It's not like you have to do it on daily basis. So for infrequent data, you will use infrequent data access. Third one is Amazon Glacier. As I already told you, Glacier is like an ocean. You just have to dump your data. For example, X students' old record. Like in a school, who will access the X students' old record? Nobody will. It's a rare case. So we will just put your data on a Glacier, where retrieval of data is very rare and where you don't want a high cost for your storage, as you will not use that data for many years. So next one is one zone IA storage class. It's also part of S3 only. So here it's for single region, infrequent access for single region. For example, a report card in school. A report card will obviously in a school, it's not like in a hospital you will have a report card of student. No, you people have in a school only. So if you're specifying only a single region, infrequent data, we will use one zone ID. And the last one is reduced redundancy storage. For example, books, it may in library, it is possible that the books are replaced or lost. We can just easily replace those books. So where the data is not as important as for standard is where it can be easily replaced, we will use reduced redundancy storage. So these will be some storage classes of S3 where you can store your data. So next is features of Amazon S3. So these are some features. I will talk every feature in the later slides. So let's start. First one is lifecycle management. It's of two types: transition action and expiry action. First, we will talk about transition action. So as you can see in the picture, these are the storage classes. First is standard, then second is infrequent, and the third one is Glacier. Let's say you have a data and you have stored in your standard storage class. So one thing is also important. Every storage class has their own cost. If you're storing your data in standard one, it will be costly. But if you are storing your data in Glacier, it will be less costly. So let's say you're storing your data in standard. After 30 days, you realize that data is not being used for last 30 days or next 6 months, it will not be used. So what S3 will do is it will just shift your data from standard to in standard. And then after like these 30 days and 60 days, it's your choice. Like if you want to do it for the first transition, you want to do it for 60 days, completely your choice, even a year or more than that. So it's for example, we are taking 30 days. So let's say your data is in infrequent access now. Let's say you have not accessed that data in 60 days also. So what S3 will do is it will automatically migrate your data to the Glacier so that you have the low cost. So security is the main priority. Other than that, pay for what you use is the Amazon priority as well, so that you don't waste your money. So it will just automatically migrate your data to a lower cost storage. This was transition action. The next one is expiration action. In this, after Glacier, for example, you are not accessing your data like last from 10 years. What it will do is it will just delete your data completely, and you just have to specify at what particular amount of time you want to keep your data in your S3 bucket. If, for example, you have written after 10 years, if you're not accessing, just delete it. So S3 will automatically delete it after a specific time or date is reached. So it's your it's AWS business. You don't have to do anything about it. You just have to give lifecycle management. You just have to enable it, write the specified amount of date, and click on that. It will do it automatically. So let's talk about next feature of AWS, that is bucket policy. As I already told you, security is the main priority. So here we use IAM policy. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. It will identify who is accessing your buckets, who is not. It will just set permission for the authorized actions only, so that your data is not lost or is not used by an unauthorized action, which you don't want, obviously. So it was second bucket policy. Third one is data protection. So through bucket policies, we can protect our data. Now it is durable, protected, and scalable. It's not like your data is protected and a particular amount of data is protected. If you're storing 5 terabytes of data, whole 5 terabytes of data will be secured. And if you're storing 500 MB of data, it will be secured as well. So it's for data protection. Next is data encryption. As I told you, in transition stage, when one of the data is moving from one storage class to another. So when it is in transition phase, or even if it is in rest, the data will be encrypted. So as we already know, data is very secure, but let's say a hacker has just hacked your account and it's there, but your data is still safe because data is in encrypted form. It will not be visible directly to the hacker. So it's in encrypted form, whether you are transmitting it or whether it's at rest. Fifth one is versioning. Let's say you unintentionally erase or overwrite your object. For example, you have a file and you delete it unintentionally, and later on you realize that file was important. What you can have is you can just enable versioning in your S3 account. What it will do is the earlier versions of your file will also be available. So in case you have done it, you can just access it again. You can just regain the earlier version as well. And the next one is cross-region application. As you know, your data is stored in some region where the data centers are present. For example, like there's a natural calamity or earthquake or a flood and your data center is lost. So what will happen to your data? No, it will not be lost. What AWS will do is it will just copy whole of your data to another region as well. So in case if one region is being destroyed, your data is still available in another region. As you can see in picture also, region 1 and region 2, your whole of your data, it doesn't matter how much amount of it will be there in second region as well. Cross-region application is one of the amazing feature of S3. So in conclusion, so as I already told you, there are many storage classes of cloud. S3 has its own benefit, other classes have its own benefit. So S3 stands out in versatility, performance, and durability. So let's talk about how S3 is different. I have just taken two storage classes. We have others also. So let's say EBS, which stands for Elastic Block Storage. It is attached to a single EC2 instance and it can be accessed with that instance only. But with S3, it can be accessed from anywhere, everywhere. Now we will discuss how S3 is different from EFS, which stands for Elastic File Storage. S3 has 99.11 nines of durability, but EFS only 99.5 nines of durability. So this is how S3 is different from other storage classes, and obviously every storage class has its own benefit, and this is how S3 was important and one of the main features of AWS as cost effectiveness, versatility, performance, durability. These are main features of S3. So I'm done with my PPT. So I'm just open for any questions and further discussions. Sir, I'm done.
Yeah, you are done, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, see, you started a presentation with a scenario, right? So that was a very good part of the presentation. Like you added a good book story to it, and you started the task. Not directly jump on the main topic. So that was a good thing. Secondly, your PPT is well structured, as I can see, and the theme used is good as well. The demo part was properly explained, and the flow was very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Secondly, in a slide, there was a 99.99% durability, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, so why not 100?
So there's always, it's like they all have 99.99%
Right, but
protection. Why not 100?
Yeah, but okay. So
There's
it's
always
in the
a chance.
context of protection you're
Yes, sir.
relaying. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was a question. Yeah. So and secondly, as I said, it's well structured. It's well structured. You have covered the, almost everything related to this history. Is a very good thing. All the areas are properly covered. The challenges and everything. It's just the end of the presentation. At the end of the presentation, there has to be a reference slide as well. And just add a thank you slide at the end. So we know that the presentation.
Yes, sir, I do have. I have a thank you slide.
So end it here, not at the end.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
you can pause for 2 seconds. If someone puts in chat a question, then it's okay. Or just move ahead to the thank you, and so we know that your presentation is over. Okay. Yeah, just add a reference slide, and this was actually a good presentation.
Thank you.
Right. So next we have Kushagra.
Hello, sir. Am I visible?
Yes, you are visible. You can share your screen.
Yes, sir. Sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, the screen is visible.
Okay. So let's start. Good evening, everyone. So my project here is understanding descriptive diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive models. And my task for this project is prescriptive analytics. So basically, the contents for this presentation here are task description, which I will be giving next. Then I will give a literature review. Literature review entails all the information about the task, the processes that have been used to implement the task, and what all will be necessary there. Then I will give a demo, and after that, conclusion of the demo, and then I will be asking for some questions. Now, coming on to the task description and steps. So first, we have to perform prescriptive analytics on a given data set. The data set has been provided to us. It's a Kaggle data set actually. So, and we have to perform time series analysis and other prescriptive analytics techniques that are available for us. Then in that data, actually, there is a variable known as order demand. So we have to perform the prescriptive analytics based and focus on this order demand and the relation and correlation of other variables with this order demand. So first we will be predicting the order demand using other variables of the data set, and then we will also use other supervised algorithms, supervised learning algorithms for the predictive task. And there's also using appropriate metrics so that we can evaluate the model. Okay, fine. Now coming on to the literature review for the task. So what is prescriptive analytics? So first we will understand what the prescriptive analytics and this term contains. So it's basically prescriptive analytics is basically an advanced branch of the data analytics. It goes beyond prediction and analysis part. It basically contains the recommendation part and the action for optimizing the uh, outcome of the task. So it focuses on the recommendation rather than the prediction and analysis of the part. And it can the main goal here is basically to guide the decision making process here. It provides insights, the prescriptive analytics, and guides us towards the most optimized solution towards that uh, action and towards our task. It also involves the integration of data analysis, prediction, data predictive modeling, and machine learning algorithms, optimization techniques, decision making techniques that have been implemented before. So we will use a package of all those techniques together so as to perform the prescriptive analytics. And then basically the data, it contains various types of data like historical data and time series data or real time data. It can work on any of the following data. Now one major confusion that happens while performing the prescriptive analytics is uh, making a differentiation between predictive and prescriptive analytics. So uh, predictive analytics basically forecasts what might happen in the future, but prescriptive analytics takes it a step further and it recommends what actions we have to take based on that predicted outcome. So here is the main difference that comes between predictive and prescriptive analytics. Then we have to focus that predictive analytics basically identifies the patterns, while so that we can make the informed decision, and that informed decision making and recommendations are what comes under the prescriptive analytics part. So and basically if we have to sum it up, so in essence we can say that predictive analytics answers what might happen, while prescriptive analytics answers what should be done instead of what is happening. Then we are focusing on the key components. So there are several key components here like data collection, pre-processing, data analysis, pattern recognition, optimization. There are various optimization algorithms, many famous optimization algorithms that we have used, like if like gradient descent. When we build the deep learning models, we use gradient descent algorithm so that we can find the least. In deep learning model, we have to minimize the error. So while minimizing the error, we often encounter local minima rather than the global minima of the graph. So we have to optimize the algorithm based on the collected data, so that we can reach faster to the global minima rather than being stuck at the local minima. So there are optimization algorithms based on those uh, methods, like adding the momentum, adding the moving average, so that we can converge faster to the global minima rather than the local minima. So it is one of the example of that optimization algorithm. And then we have the decision models that are used for selecting most of the favorable actions that should be taken here. Next, benefits of prescriptive analytics. So advantages of prescriptive analytics, like all other machine learning models and all other algorithms before used for data analysis, predictive analytics, and same as prescriptive analytics. It helps us in improving the decision making. We can enhance the operation, efficiency of the operations that are present there, and we can also we can optimize the cost that is a process is taking, be it the computational cost or the financial cost that we are tackling there. And we can also uh, tackle the resource allocation problem that is present there. Then we can also prevent various issues that might happen, and we can capitalize on those opportunities. And business can optimize their processes by using prescriptive analytics. We can recommend various features, various actions that should be taken, so that we can optimize our businesses, like churning factor or many other factors can be optimized using that. And companies can also adopt this prescriptive analytics, so that we can improve our uh, costs that are taking for a particular uh, process, and we can also have a positive impact on the bottom line. We can also improve customer satisfaction. There are many machine learning algorithms based on that prescriptive analytics part only. Then we can also enhance the decision making accuracy. We already have certain like if we have a model that performs a particular accuracy, we have a certain accuracy there. Then we can improve that accuracy based on the newer models that are coming. We can help that decision making process become even more better, so business outcomes can become even more better there. Then coming on to the real world use cases. So there are many sectors where prescriptive analytics can be used. Like one of the sectors is healthcare. you know Prescriptive analytics has successfully established its domain there, where it can help in resource allocation of the limited hospital resources that are already present. And we can improve the resource allocation problem there. And also we can develop a treatment plan already uh, based on the historical data that is present in the hospital of a particular patient. So, analytics is used in that case, so that we can provide personalized treatment based on the medical history. And we can also, leverage that power for better resource allocation. And in finance also, we can use for portfolio optimization, like many institutions that are working in financial sectors can use prescriptive analytics, so that the investment portfolios can be optimized by balancing the risk and return factor there. So the prescriptive analytics has their use cases in that. And also risk management is another factor there. Like we can identify the potential risk factors that are there and suggest strategies, so that we can have a robust policy there to prevent the that risk. And then there are marketing benefits that are there, like personalized recommendation on e-commerce platforms like Amazon, Flipkart. There are many platforms where we get personalized recommendation based on our history. So online retailers use that data, so that they can perform that prescriptive analytics and recommend us with better choices. and this has also seen a huge this has resulted in a huge rise in the for the shops and for the online sellers there. So that's a positive use case there. Then we can also have that in a targeted campaigns, like prescriptive analytics can marketers can identify the most promising or we can segment for their campaigns, like we can identify the or target audience, and we can uh, by identifying the target audience we can have a more efficient campaign there. So that is another marketing benefit in a real world case. And supply chain management also has quite a few benefits, like inventory optimization. We can use prescriptive analytics to optimize the inventory levels, like ensuring sufficient stock while maintaining the cost. We have to another part is like in prescriptive analytics we perform optimization. So in optimization we have a particular function, we have a particular variable that we have to target with certain constraints. So it has a very efficient real world use cases there in inventory optimization. Like if we have to lower the inventory cost or handling cost there, so we can have certain constraints, like the inventory levels cannot go beyond this level, beyond a particular level. So we can use this prescriptive analytics part, and by performing that optimization, by using that optimization algorithm, we can have a efficient inventory optimization or uh, selection part. Then we can also be and bring an efficient distributor network. So that can also be done using that prescriptive analytics, like optimizing the warehouse locations or optimizing the transportation routes that are present. So we can use those variables and have a good use case there. Then coming on to the factors, or coming on to the exact algorithms that are used for uh, this prescriptive analytics. First is linear programming. Linear programming is basically a mathematical tool or mathematical algorithm or optimization technique. It gives us the best outcome in a mathematical model. We have a particular set of equations, and those equations are subjected to a particular constraint, and we use those constraint and those optimization or that equation to get most out of it, or get a particular outcome, a best outcome out of it. So linear programming is basically that mathematical tool. It's widely applied in various fields, like for maximizing profits or minimizing the costs or resource allocation. Then the primary goal here is to maximize the or minimize an objective function that is present here, and we have to satisfy a particular set of linear constraints. So that is that. And then we have the objective functions that can quantify our goal. We can easily satisfy those constraints by uh, having our great computer resources working on that. So this can be quite easily achieved. As you can see, the mathematical formulation here is given, like the objective or objective function here. It's the objective function z that is written here is basically the variable that we have to minimize or maximize. Like if the, z can represent profit, then we will be working on maximizing a profit. If z represents the cost of holding of any other cost, then we have to minimize that z. And then these are variables like x1 to xn. These variables are the factors or other variables that affect z directly. So and then these are the uh, costs, or these are the factors that affect those variables. And then these are the constraints here. A1 are the variables like coefficient variables of the constraint function, and then x1 to xn are again the constraints that are applied on those vectors or those variables that are affecting our objective function. So as you can see, this is a particular formulation, or this is how an linear programming function looks like. Then coming on to the integer programming part, optimization technique, basically it's a form of linear programming only, but here the decision variables that are mentioned before, those decision variables x1 to xn only takes integer values. So integral values or whole numbers that are being uh, a, an additional constraint here, that constraint is added to the subject of constraints here, then that IP is useful in various real world cases. If we perform normal linear programming, it includes the whole factor, but when we perform integer programming, it actually mentions the real world cases like several variables, like if we consider z to be cost of holding a particular inventory in a warehouse, then we can say that x1 and x1 to xn are several variables like maintenance costs, or the amount of objects that are held on a particular shaft, or various other factors. But those variables cannot be fractional in nature. So integer programming comes in help at that moment. So uh, then we can find the feasible solution that maximizes or minimizes the objective function. It's all same to linear programming, but the only additional constraint here is that we have uh, the x1 to xn that are decision variables as integer variables. And then comes the mixed integer programming. So some variables are restricted to integer values while others can take continuous values. So mixed integer programming is also another part of linear programming, with again that not all variables here, decision variables, are constrained to being integers. Some variables can be continuous also. Then comes the ARIMA models. ARIMA models are basically autoregressive integrated moving average. So this basically autoregressive relates to the autocorrelation part. So there are three components basically of ARIMA models. Autoregressive component. So autoregressive component, represents the relationship between a time series and its lagged values. So it's autocorrelation between them. It's denoted by P or rho. So it can capture the dependencies between a time series and its past variable. Then we have integrated component. Integrated component represents the differencing of the time series and uh, a previous variable, so that we can make it stationary. Stationarity often refers to the constant statistical properties that are present in a particular variable. So if the particular variable over the time does not change in statistical properties, then we can say that it's stationary in nature, and integrated components helps us in achieving that. Then we have moving average. So moving average represents the relationship between the time series and the residual errors that are there. So basically we can have moving average of lag values, and it is denoted by Q, and the integrated component is denoted by D or I, as you might prefer. Then so ARIMA is basically suitable for non-stationary. It can the mean and variance can change over time. Then once it's fitted, it can be used for short-term forecasting of the data. And as you can see, the data that has been provided to us, this is the time series representation here graph. Then we have taken a test data and predicted using the ARIMA models. But as you can see, the prediction are not that representing the trend that is present, seasonality that is present here. So since it's not representing the seasonality, we have further used the SARIMA model, SARIMA or seasonal ARIMA model. So seasonal ARIMA basically refers to seasonal autoregressive integrated moving average, and basically it incorporates the seasonal component that was not present in ARIMA models. So SARIMA is basically suitable for time series data that exhibits seasonal patterns there. So then we can see that it contains three components: seasonal autoregressive component, seasonal integrated component, and seasonal moving average component. as you can see, the seasonal autoregressive component, it represents the relationship between time series and its lag values again, but it contains the seasonal frequency this time. So that is the difference between ARIMA and SARIMA. Then we have, seasonal integrated component. It represents the seasonal differencing again with, denoted as I or D. Same, variables are used for denoting these components. Then seasonal differencing helps us in removing those pattern also, seasonal patterns. So it helps us in, maintaining that stationarity part. Then seasonal moving average, again, it represents the relationship between time series data and the residual errors that are there from the, moving average of lag values. So that is denoted as seasonal moving average component. Then again, we follow the same, estimation model that is followed by ARIMA. The only difference is the seasonal component that is added there. And as you can see, it is, specifying, or it is, representing this seasonal pattern that has been, present there in the ARIMA model, in the time series data, which ARIMA model has failed to capture there. So then coming on to the demo part. Since the data is quite, large in size, so I'm not running it in real time because it will take quite a lot of time here. So I have run it, I have ran the program before starting the meeting. So as you can see, this is the basically a summary of the data that was given to us, a summary of the first 5 rows here. The product code represents the code of the product that has been, there in an there, and this product code contains various unique values. So we can come here and we can see that there are 2160 product codes there. So there are 2100 products that have been mentioned here in this case. Then we have warehouse. The warehouse, basically we have only 4 warehouses where this company is storing that products. So as you can see, 4 warehouses, we have 4 unique warehouses. Then we have product categories. Each of these 2100 products are, categorized in several categories, and those categories are 33 in number. Then we have date, the date of, demand of that product. So, and where that product is stored. So the demand number is also there. But again, one thing that we have noted here is that demand is again giving us a unique count. There's not much difference in demand, but another part is that this order demand is not numerical in nature, which leads us to believe that we have to perform the analysis part more thoroughly. We have to clean the data here. So first, we have counted for the null variables that are there and found out that there are 11,000 null variables there. Total number of rows that are present are more than a million. So you can see that the data is quite large in number. So out of that, if we even drop those 11,000 rows, we should not face any problem. So that's why we are not, replacing those rows with any other value. So here I have dropped those rows. Then again, we have sorted the date part, and again arrange that data, and we can see that this order demand contains like this value 2, and again this value is 2, but it is in a bracket, so it's stored as an object here, not as a numerical data. So again we have to clean this part, and here I have cleaned this part by replacing that and converting it to integer. So as you can see, the data is clean. Then we can see that we have performed describe again, and this time order demand here has been stored as a numerical data. So we have the particular statistics of that. Then we have splitted that date into year, month, and day part, as we have several years, several month and day. So we can perform the analysis based on those. So as you can see here, no null object is present. I have confirmed this just for checking sake. Then we have performed the analysis for those categorical variables that are present there. These categorical variables actually does not have any trend or does not have any hierarchical order here. So it again makes us quite difficult to organize this data as a dummy variable, because if we organize as a label encoding, then it should contain any hierarchy. But when we organize this data as a dummy, and as you can see, the unique values are quite a lot. So the number of columns will explode, and our algorithms will require more computational power, which is not currently available here. So I have to avoid that part. So this is these are certain observation of the count of the data based on the warehouse part outputs here. Then for each warehouse we have computed the output, the unique number of warehouses that are present. And for year part, the month column and the day column, and also the product category, there are 33 in number. So as you can see, the total counts I have, it's basically a type of histogram. So the count is not normal in nature, or there's quite a variation here. So it's not uniformly distributed. But day count is distributed uniformly throughout the year. We are getting a data for the day column actually. Then coming back to this part, we have again plotted using another using order demand for the month, and month-wise order demand, we can say that it's almost constant if we are analyzing this. But if we are counting using particular warehouses where we can see that. So as you can see, like warehouse S is showing a huge demand compared to other warehouses each month wise. So that is another part that we can confirm from here. Then we have year wise location. These are all the basically charts that can be drawn here, but order demand basically following those charts. But they're performing the analysis, correlation analysis based on the warehouses and the machine learning algorithms based on those categories. We didn't found any particular accuracy. Our accuracy was less than 10%. So we can ignore this part, because again it results to no beneficial point. So coming on to the time series part, where we can have a particular fruitful discussion. So again, I have converted based on the particular months. I have converted the data here. So month-wise data, this DF3 contains the monthly pivot table. So for each month, based on the year, we have categorized the order demand. But again, it doesn't lead to any fruitful patterns. So then we are moving ahead, and we are just trying various variables with each other, cross-referencing like a matrix. We are just multiplying various variables with each other, trying to find any fruitful pattern in the based on their dependency. But we cannot recognize any fruitful pattern. So we will be based on the product category also I have tried, but then again it never resulted in anything. As you can see, this is the time series graph based on the whole data. So order demand and date, I've just simply put the data here, and then I have resampled this data to monthly data, where for each month the data will be the order demand will be summed, so that we don't have this type of noisy data where where this data contains the order demand for each of the day, but here it contains for each of the based on each month I have summed the order demand and used it to plot that part. So again I have performed this part, and as you can see, the trend is not particularly visible. This is the original data that was also seen in the presentation. This is the seasonality part. As you can see, some of the seasonality can be mentioned, but again, it's varying from time to time. These are the residuals that are there. As you can see, residuals are sinusoidal in nature. So since sinusoidal residuals are there, we can also say that it represents this seasonality that is present, or certain trends that are present there. So we have used the Ariba model here and performed the error part also using the residuals. So this is the error, the numerical error that we are getting. Since the data is quite high, the amount of data is quite high, so we are getting a huge error here. But as you can see, the prediction is not that much, better here. Since you can see here, the residuals are sinusoidal in nature. So sine wave-like pattern here suggests that the model is capturing some level of seasonality there, because it's a property of seasonality. So we can say that the residuals oscillate around the zero line. So ARIMA is making accurate forecast with a reasonable consistent error. But since you can see that the errors are not in a particular direction, so we can say that it's a reasonable, prediction that we are getting here. Unlike the profit, which is another time series forecasting method, but as you can see, the residuals, these are the predictions here forecast. As you can see, it's only going in a particular direction, and the residuals are only above the 0 point and growing more and more. So as you can see, this is a straight line like pattern, which indicates that there is, it's not capturing any seasonality, and it's not present at all. The error is improving, and it's not, working at all for this time series data. So it's not capturing, so it's missing the trend or a shift in underlying demand behavior. So it's not at all beneficial for our model. So we will be using the SARIMA model, that is to capture the seasonality that was mentioned in ARIMA model. And as you can see, we are successfully able to capture the seasonality, and the residuals are also again, it represents that seasonality part, the sinusoidal nature. Then we are coming on to the linear programming, but because of the lack of computational resources, we cannot perform the sensitivity analysis here. As you know, there are more than 1 million data points, and to perform that, we will need various other factors that were not provided in the data. So we can only perform a blind linear programming for optimizing the inventory here. And also, since the holding cost for each product or each warehouse or each product category was not provided, we are just assuming that that holding cost for each of the product and each of the categories and for each of the warehouses is constant here. So since we are assuming that the holding cost is constant, we are simply assigning that inventory so that we can minimize the total holding cost. So these are the inventory levels for each product here. Those will be the decision variables. We have the objective function so as to minimize the total inventory holding cost for each of the products there. And unit cost is considered constant because the data was not provided. Then we also have a non-negativity constraint. Demand constraint is there, that we are giving a particular order demand. So we have to at least maintain that much. And the inventory level also should not go negative, because we can't have a negative inventory. So that is that. So we are just performing using the pulp module of Python. The holding cost here is constant value. We can replace the actual constant value. I've just taken 0.5 to reduce the computational complexity, because the higher the number and will perform more problem here. And as you can see, it has produce a particular optimized result here for each of the product. It has inventory levels there are assigned, and we can since we don't have more data, so we can only just get the optimized result, but cannot compare it with any other part. So I have tried to uh, I have also performed mixed integer programming based on the pulp module here only. Then I've tried to find out the total cost, revenue, and profit here. So we have initialized the total cost initially as 0, and then again unit sale price that was there. This time we have again, we are not provided with the sale price of the data. So we are just assuming that the unit sale price will be 25 and that holding cost was 0.5. Then we have the data here, the inventory that was already provided here. So we are just using that inventory, and we are just performing that total cost for each unit holding cost into inventory level that is there. So we are just multiplying, getting total cost, then we can get the total revenue here by using the demand that was there, and we can simply multiply with the sale price. This is a simple mathematical equation, and for profit we can simply just negate the revenue and total cost. So by assuming that sale price is 25 and holding cost is 0.5, quite less, so we can get this a huge amount of cost and revenue for that whole time period. So again, since we do not have any other variables regarding that data, so we can only assume that this is we cannot compare whether this is good or this is bad. So we can only move forward with that. Then again, I've tried machine learning algorithms using all those variables, and as you can see, the warehouses are 4 in number, unique, and the product categories are 33 in number. This only adds to 37 columns. Then we also have 2000 distinct products. So if we add to that, then we will have a huge uh, huge amount of columns. So we have to exclude certain variables as we don't have those computational resources here. So by excluding those variables, we only have 40 columns here. 40 columns for 1 million rows is also a huge number, and it takes quite a lot of time to train the models. So we are only taking the first half million data points due to lack of computational power. And simply we are performing normal train test split using the XGBoost regressor, and we are making the prediction. And as you can see, the mean squared error is quite high, might be because of the huge amount of rows, but the R squared error that is used to represent the model accuracy, 0 bit being the least efficient model and 1 being the most efficient model. And as you can see, 0.05 is a pretty huge error that is there in a model. So we should ignore this XGBoost. And XGBoost is one of the most powerful boosting algorithm that we have in machine learning. So if XGBoost is not working, we can make assumption that no other machine learning model will work, and we can only work with the time series time part of the data that is provided, as we have seen before, the ARIMA and SARIMA model. Then we have performed ridge regression, lasso regression, and other elastic net regression. But again, as you can see, the error is quite low, 0.03, 0.03. I mean, the R squared value is quite low, which represent the model is quite poor in nature. So we have to discard these models and work with ARIMA and SARIMA. And while we don't have the data for for comparing the inventory optimization that we perform. So this is for the demo. Then coming on to the conclusions, when we use the ARIMA model, we observed that the sine wave-like pattern that was present there, it suggests that model is capable of learning some level of seasonality or periodicity. So this is expected from SARIMA. So the residuals oscillating around the zero line indicate on average ARIMA is making accurate for the forecast. So this can be said that the bias is not that much high when compared to the profit that we use there. So, and the cyclic behavior suggests that we can capture some seasonality. So we will be using SARIMA in the future. Then when we use profit, the rising straight line pattern that we have seen previously in the program indicates that profit is quite poor in forecasting. So we have simply discarded that algorithm. Residuals increase in magnitude with time. So it indicates that models forecasting errors are growing, which might be a sign that the trend is missing or shift is missing. So model is not at all capturing the essence of the data. Then we also performed predictive analytics using other categorical variables, but we obtained quite poor result. As you can see, R squared, which indicates the model efficiency, is quite high, quite low, only 5% and 3% in best of the algorithms that are present in machine learning. So we can conclude that dependency of demand is quite high on date, but they do not, they are not influenced by other factors at all. So we can say that. Then any questions? And you can contact me on this email ID if you have further questions. these are the differences here, and thank you.
But I believe your presentation is over, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, see, talking about the PPT itself, the PPT is very well structured. You have actually covered everything that is related to this task. It's a detailed analysis of this prescriptive analysis. Right? There was graphs, there was uh, many other factors that was present in the demo. But just at the very start of the demo, you could have told us the what libraries you are using at the very start, as pandas library and everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you directly went for the coding and the result which you got, the graphical part, right?
Yes,
And and the very and at the start of the presentation, there was like lack of hook story, so you can actually start the scenario or why this prescriptive analysis was needed.
okay.
Yeah, so that could be added as a hook story. The rest, the introduction part was very good, and as I said, the demo part was actually very good. You have actually covered the task holistically, so it's a very good presentation from your side.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, have you added the reference slide at the end?
Reference slide.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I have stopped sharing. Let me share my screen again.
Yeah, you can reshare, please.
Yes, sir. Can you see the reference slide here?
Yes, yes, I can see. Right, you have covered actually everything. Okay, so actually very good presentation.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Right, so next we have Darshan with us. Yes, Darshan.
Yes, sir. I'm audible and visible.
Yeah, you are visible and audible as well.
So first of all,
Yeah.
actually, before starting, I would like to thank you for allowing to present me here. And my name is Darshan Virwani. I am from cybersecurity internship background, and today my task is basics of networking and reverse shell. So I'm going to start my PPT. Just a second.
Darshan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when was your presentation scheduled?
Actually, sir, there was a problem with due to natural calamity conditions.
Okay.
On 25th, my presentation was scheduled.
Yeah.
So there was 2 days power cut at my place. So
Okay.
I emailed the support also, but I didn't get any reply. So I waiting. So I thought I should join this meeting and give my presentation today.
Okay, so you have already informed at the technical support. Then that's fine. You can start.
Yeah. Yeah. So I discussed today's presentation on networking basics and reverse shell. So today's overview will be on networking basics, reverse shell. After that, there will be demonstration and later on Q&A session. So starting with networking basics, what will be the contents? What is a network? Different types of network protocol, common network protocols, IP address, subnet, router, and switch. So starting with what is a network? So many people are in this meeting or around us. We know that what is a network. Like we daily use, like we internet connection or Bluetooth or like that. That is called a network. A network is basically a connection between two devices which are sharing resources with each other. Like we are connected our mobile phone hotspot to a laptop. We are connected our printers. And today's generation, we are using smartwatches with our desktop and mobiles. That is like the definition. A network consists of two or more computers that are linked in order to share resources, such as printers, CDs, exchange files, all are electronic communications. The computers on the network may be linked to cables, telephone lines, radio waves, satellites, or infrared light beams. So we have majorly used the components like we have used cable, LAN cable, many of us have seen. In the older time, many of us, our homes have telephone lines and radio waves. In our old time, many of our elder people were using radio, and satellite or infrared light beam some of have seen. So moving on next, different type of networks. There are commonly four types of network: LAN, WAN, MAN, and PAN. So starting with local area network. Local area network means which a small organization or single building are using a connection where, like in our home, if we are settled down in router and some of our, for example, our home there are three to four devices, then we can might consider as a local area network. Then moving on next to wide area network, WAN. Many of us today are using internet. Internet we are browsing YouTube and all the stuff. That is an example of wide area network. Wide area network means it is a geographical area network which is all over connected over the worldwide. Next, metropolitan area network. Metropolitan area network defines as a local area network but an advanced version of that. Metropolitan network means if there are certain branches of a one firm all over the world or some like geolocation. Like for example, we take off a bank. There like there are multiple branches of SDFC Bank all over India or might be out of India also. They are using a metropolitan area network where each of the person of the everyday branch they can access some of the data which are accessible to them and share the resources with all over the other branches to one to another branch. Next, personal area network. Personal area network, like we are sharing files over Bluetooth to different devices. Like now, currently, I'm sharing my mobile hotspot connect to my laptop. That is called a personal area network. Personal area network doesn't define only a hotspot or uh, the connection, but it also extends to like sharing Bluetooth files or like you are connected or your smartwatch. That is also can be considered in personal area network. Moving on to next protocol. As we are here discussing today networking basis, so network protocols. Network protocols means there which are a set of rules which are defined how the network will work, how the devices each other will communicate, and which ports and how they will work end to end. So just look at definition. Network protocols are a set of rules outlining how connected devices communicate across a network to exchange information easily and safely. Protocols serve as a common language for devices to enable communication irrespective of different software, hardware, or internal processes. Like we just take an example. What does a protocol in layman terms define? Protocol means you are assigned a certain amount of set of rules that you have to perform these things in this way. Like for example, we are assigned in task our intent tracker, right? We have to perform the task. We have to schedule a presentation. We have to give the presentation. Our learning manager will assign the marks and we will check the intent tracker. These are a set of rules which are guided to us to perform our task. This can be considered as a protocol. So, thing like what are common network protocols? There are majorly five types of network protocols: IP, Internet Protocol; ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol; ARP, Address Resolution Protocol; RIP, Routing Information Protocol; OSPF, Open Shortest Path Protocol. So, starting with Internet Protocol, many of us have heard about IP addresses. What does it mean? It is an definition protocol of an Internet Protocol address, which means a device is defined a logical address that it can be seen for example, if in a firm there are 100 devices connected through a switch, then if one admin department person want to define that how many devices are connected in my network, so how we can connect? One of the major ways is an IP address. Every device are assigned a logical IP address from which they can be identified over the internet and over the one organization. So moving on next protocol, ICMP, Internet Control in Message Protocol. As the message defines that there might be something related to message in this protocol. Yes, it is there. Internet Message Protocol, what does? It takes care of the communication between the network devices and other hardware devices, end-to-end communication. It takes care that every packet is properly delivered from one end to another end. If there is any error or in the communication, it will report you like whenever our internet connection is down, we might see like your site cannot be reached or internet connection. There that there's protocol is working, that internet control message access protocol, that it is defining us that what is the reason. Next is address resolution protocol, ARP. It is the one of the major protocol in network protocols because many of us might have heard about MAC addresses. MAC address means media access control address. It is an address of a particular hardware base, which address resolution protocol what does? It defines that this IP and this MAC address defines to this device, and when any of the network packet is coming, it defines that this network packet has to go to this MAC address. MAC address is like our like mind physical address. Most all of our humans are assigned like identified by their home. There is an address assigned to them. Same like in the networking field, and MAC address is defined to a hardware device. Next, protocol moves on RIP, Routing Information Protocol. Routing Information Protocol, as the name suggests, routing. It does the same work as its name derives. What it does that it choose the best derived route for the network packets to move from the one router to the end device. Routing information protocol does to define the best paths on which the data can be transferred. And the last common protocol is OSPF, Open Shortest Path First Protocol. In the shortest path, it defines that there might be something related to path. Yes. As the name suggests, open short path is first protocol. What does in the network protocols that when a data packet is being transferred from the router or switch to the end device, might can be my mobile phone or my PC or laptop, it sees that which is the shortest path through which the data can be transferred very fast in the fastest way. So this protocol works in the second layer, in the network layer of the OSI model, which it defines that how the data packets will be transferred fastly to the end devices. So moving down to next is an IP address. In the last slide, we discussed about the IP protocol, Internet Protocol address. So this IP address is same. IP address stands for Internet Protocol Address. Like we discussed last, that it is an identified address number that is associated with a specific computer or computer network. When connected to the internet, the IP address allows the computer to send and receive information. This is the main work of IP address. There are majorly two types of IP address. IPv4, Internet Protocol version 4. This was the first Internet protocol for the IP address, defining IP address between a range was defined. It in this type of IP address, there can be a range which can be defined starting from 0 to 255 decimal numbers. But the computer do not assign about this. So these IP addresses are then converted to decimal numbers like 0 and 1, which are easily understood by computers. But the IPv version 4, when it was developed, at that time it was then the developers didn't think about it that in the upcoming future there might be this much devices that the addresses will be lower, they will be not there to assign the people. So that was a major disadvantage of IPv4, that the 4 billion devices only can be connected to the IP version 4. And as the internet era evolved, the, the IP addresses were completely used. So then there came an advanced version, IPv6, where Internet Protocol version 6, which in our normal IP4 addresses we used to like device used to IP address like 192.168.10.1, but the IPv6 was completely different. It used an hexadecimal way of defining the IP, which was human readable, like it includes characters, numbers, special characters, all that the things were included in the IPv version 6, where the IPv4 version was using 32 bits and IPv6 was more advanced. They were using 132-bit addresses. So So I might show you an example of what is IPv4 and IPv6. As you can see, the IPv4 addresses, as I talked before, like it will be range from 0 to 255, 172.20.10.2. But the IP6 advanced version, it contains hexadecimal characters. You can see 2401, 4900, 53F4, 4811, 6B, 5, 154B, and so on. This is the major difference between the IPv4 and IPv6 address. So, continuing with our presentation. So, our next topic is subnet. Subnet, subnet is a subnetwork. Like for example, before starting with subnet, I will give you an example. Like when we were studying in our school, there might be we were used to go to the computer lab, and we were divided into different groups like A, B, C, D, E. But we all, and when our turns come, the group comes. At that time, that group will be going to the computer lab, but all the students will be doing the same task as the same subnetwork does. A subnetwork is a segmented piece of a larger network. More specifically, subnets are a logical partition of an IP network into multiple smaller network segments. Organizations use subnet to subdivide large networks into smaller for more efficient subnetworks. The main goal of subnet is to split a large network into a group of numbers to help minimize traffic. Like in an organization, there might be many departments like HR, accounts, and other other departments. So what a IT person will do, he will create a different group of IP with subnet by using the subnet. For HR, there will be another subnet. For the accounts department, there will be another subnet. And for the different group, different IP policies will be defined so that when these people accessing the internet, there might be no lag of the network use. So moving on to the next, router. Many of us have seen and many of us have at our home also router. What does a router does? Router is a physical or virtual internet device that is designed to receive, analyze, and forward data packets between computer networks. A router examines destination IP address of a given data packet and use headers and forwarding tables to decide the best way to transfer packets. There are some popular companies that develop routers such as Cisco, HP, D-Link, Nortel, etc. Many of us have seen the routers now. That what does it function? What does that? There might be a LAN cable which will be provided by internet service provider that will be going in the router, and from that router there will be another LAN cables which will be going away in a laptop, desktop, or any other devices. And in today's era, majorly people are using wireless routers. The function is same. there might be a LAN cable which will be provided by the internet service provider, but there will be antennas will be working as same. So the number of connected devices will be there. They will be assigned an IP addresses through which the router will identify them, the which data packet is needed by the which device. So moving on to the next switch. Switch is the same network device in the router, but the major difference between both the router and switch is that the router only contains most of the router only contains 3 or 4 hardware ports in the which the LAN cable can be connected. But what does a switch do? A switch is like works an extender to a network. A network switch connect devices in the network to each other, enabling them to talk by exchanging data packets. Switches can be hardware devices that can manage physical networks or software-based virtual devices. The switch operates on the data link layer of the two of the OSI model. In the local area network using Ethernet, a network switch defines where to send each incoming message frame by looking at the media access address. Switches maintain tables that match each MAC address to the port receiving the MAC address. The main part of the switch, what does it if in in an organization, for an example, there are 20 devices. Majorly of them are like and user system like desktop system. So there the IT person what will be do? He will be connecting the main internet service provider LAN cable to the router, and one cable will be going from the router to the switch. And switch can be of multiple ports. Like I said before that the router has majorly 3 or 4 ports, but is not in the same with the switch. Switch contains 30 ports, 60 ports, 120 ports also. So one can cater the need of the connecting devices by the using the switch. So moving to our next topic, that is reverse shell. The content include what is a reverse shell, how does reverse shell work, common types of reverse shell, commands of reverse shell. So starting with reverse shell. What is a reverse shell? Many of us might have seen CMD, like command prompt of a system. That is an example of shell. A shell is a program that interprets our commands and gives the written commands to the operating system. It acts as an interface between the user and the operating system. It takes input from the keyboard and gives it to the OS and terminal lets you type command and interact with the shell. What does the shell do? In the older times, there the coming and DOS office, where the people used to interact with the system using the shell only, like command line interface. They have to make the folder, access something. They used to just write the command, access the file, and do their thing. So, what is a reverse shell? Reverse shell is an opposite side. It can be used to gain control of a compromised system. An attacker usually aims to gain interactive shell access for arbitrary command execution. With such access, they can try to elevate their privileges to obtain full control of the operating system. One of the methods used to circumvent the limited reverse shell. What is a reverse shell do? If suppose I am a hacker and and I I find the victim for me. So what I will do with the use of reverse shell, I will have the access of the shell of my victim. Shell means a command prompt, which with the use of shell, I can access all the directories, images, internet history, keystrokes, all the things of the victim, which can be a data loss to my victim. So moving on to next, how does a shell work? In the upcoming demonstration, I would like to show you the how does the properly shell work. Let's go to the definition. A reverse shell or connect back is a setup where attacker must first start the server or the machine while the target machine will have to act as a client that connects to the server served by the attacker. After the successful connection, attacker can gain access to the shell of the target computer. To launch a server shell, the attacker doesn't need to know the IP address of the victim to access the target computer. How does shell work? If suppose, for example, if I shared a PDF to my friend, it might be like some of the assignment or something we have to submit to the college. But my friend doesn't know that I have binded and payload, which means through which I will gain the access to his shell. Just when my friend opens the PDF in his computer, there will be a background process running automatically, which will give me the access of his shell by the use of his IP and port number. This is need to compensate that my victim is connected to the internet at that time. So, so we will see the what are common types of reverse shell. The first majorly common used reverse shell is bash reverse shell. Bash reverse shell you will be using with the Kali Linux systems. Next is Python reverse shell, Java, PHP, Netcat, Ruby, and Perl. So majorly of the programming languages, one can use them to perform a reverse shell attack. So moving on next, these are some of the commands of reverse shell which we'll be seeing today in our demonstration. Screenshot. What does it do? A screenshot, as the attacker will enter the screenshot command in the reverse shell, it will take the screenshot of the victim computer, and it will be saved to an attacker's assigned server. So anything the victim will perform, the screenshot will be taken, it will be stored to the attacker's directory. Next is key scan start. As in layman term, what is key scan? When a victim is performing like somehow it is typing something in the word file, or he or she might be logging the social media account like Facebook. So that the keyboard the victim is typing, that will be monitoring by the attacker. And moving to the next command, key scan dump. What it will do? Key scan dump is a command of a key scan. What the keystrokes that were typed by the victim, that will be stored in the attacker's command prompt. Next, key scan stop. As the work is done, the attacker will be removing the keystrokes and using the stop command. Next is screen share. Many of us might have used remote desktop connection like AnyDesk, Dreamweaver. What we do there? We share or we take any IP address of the person we have to take this remote desktop. This screen share works as little bit same. Here the hacker will be typing the command screen share, and there will be a live window open in the front of attacker that what the victim is doing at that time. It will be showing live like the we have seen live cameras. Same thing the screen share does. Next is the shell command. Shell command is a major command. It will give the command prompt access to the attacker, where attacker can upload, download any files to the victim's system and can delete or make any files at the victim's storage. Next is reboot. Attacker sitting at his own server with the use of reboot command can do the system restart of the victim by without knowing the victims. So, so we will start with our demonstration now. So, as I said before, in the reverse shell, there is an attacker which will be using a server, and on the other side, there will be a victim. So here as a server, I am using Amazon Web Service Cloud Server, and as an attacker, I have set up and virtual machine which is running on Windows 10, where on which we will perform the actions. So starting, I have before only I have created the instance. I will be just starting. So all of you can see the instance is running. What we will do? Here our task starts. Here where I click on my instance ID, there is showing a public IP address. This is our Amazon Web Server instance access. So what will we do? I will be connecting to my one software, which is called Putty. Here I will paste my IP address. Next, in the authorization, I will connect a private key file, which is I generated before only to save time. So as you can see, the IP address is asking to accept. So I will log in as Kali, enter my passphrase. So all of you can see that we have connected to a web server which is running on Kali OS. So starting first step, what I will do, I will be starting my web server where I will upload that virus and I will share on the victim PC. So first of all, I will be starting my Apache server. My Apache server is started. Next, we will create a virus here, which as the victims download, it will be giving access to us. So for creating a virus, I will be going to the accessing my web directory. Here we are in our web directory. Next, here we'll be using a Metasploit tool, which gives an functionality to build an virus with where the attacker have the assign the IP address and ports through which the victim will be tagged. So I will be using a command fsf venom. Next, I will be defining on what architecture I want to build that. You can see x86. Majorly of and we have heard that there is 64-bit system or 32-bit system. So we are here building a virus which can be worked on all the systems. So we are building a base version like 86, which is called 32-bit. So we will next define which platform it will for be. So here is an Windows 10 running on my virtual machine. I will define here Windows. Next, payload. Payload means which type of attack I wanted to do on the attacker system. So as of we are on the networking side, we will be creating a networking related payload that is named as Windows Data Better Reverse TCP. What does reverse TCP do? Whenever a victim just installs our this created virus exe, it gives the access of the shell to our server. Next, we will be defining the L host, listening host. Here, listening host will be our public IP address where the virus will be stored on this link will be sharing to a victim. So I'm defining my IP address. Here we will define our public IP address, which there we have got from the Amazon server. That is 43.205.116.24. Next, listening port. There are 65,335 ports available. So I have defined an port in that 4444. And anyone can define any port through which they can build the virus. So next, my file type, what will be? It will be an exe. Next, output. So here we will be defining our file name, what it can be. We can define any name, like I can define project. So here I have completed my command and I have to just hit enter. It will take a couple of seconds and it will create a virus for our victim. As you can see, payload size saved as project.exe. If we want to check that our payload has been created, we have to move on this particular IP. Just I have copied from here, moving to a new tab, pasting that IP. So all of it you can see that the before starting of my task, I started my Apache server. So here is my Apache server where this project.exe I have uploaded. You can see, everyone can see that the project.exe is showing here. So this is the same link which we will be sharing to our victim. So coming to our victim PC, so I have opened the Edge here. So I will be typing the IP address on which the virus is uploaded. That is 43.205.116.24. So we have defined that IP address. So I just hit enter here. There was a typo. This IP address we have opened in the victim system. What now what will the victim or friend will do? If he or she will be downloading the exe will be provided by us. So we'll just click on the project.exe. It will ask what we'll do. We will save here. Just product.exe has finished downloading. Now what will be I doing? I will be opening a folder. Here you can see that the victim has successfully downloaded that file. Now what we will do? We will set up our server to listen this session. We will move to our directory and here we'll start the tool which I talked before about Metasploit. So we will going to in that console. The Metasploit framework console is loading and here the Metasploit is loaded and can see how much payloads and exploits are available. So what we will do, we will type in command exploit. So starting use exploit slash multi handler. So what this command do? This is a command to define up with the payload here. So we are into the exploit command. Now you will set our payload, which we used here. That was Windows metadata reverse TCP. So set Windows set payload Windows metadata reverse TCP. We have written our command which the payload will be working. Set payload Windows dash metadata set reverse TCP. So we have to hit enter. Now we have set on our payload. Now what we will do, we will be setting our listening host. So set LHOST host. Here we'll be using 0.0.0.0. We will be here using 0.0.0 because the victim can be on any IP. So what I have configured our server in that way that all the incoming IPs from all around the world can be listened on this. So I have listened that 0.0. So all the IPs can be listened there. So our IP has been set. Now we will set our port. What will be the port? The port we define while building our virus. So 4444. So now we have defined our port, payload, host. Now we will be executing the final command exploit. See, you all can see that there is a showing started reverse TCP handler on 00.4. What I said that any of the person which download that exe, as we have defined in payload that person IP address will be coming to us. So here we have defined my exploit. Now I will be running that the victim will be running that exe which will be provided by us. As you can see, it will be shown nothing there. It is taking some time. I had done a typo mistake. Actually, the IP defined is 244. And I have defined that 244 it is, and divide 24. Do that, the project will not fail. And there will be some change. Just rename the project name. We define again. We go download that file. As we run that application, there is showing Metaprocess session 1 open. Here is the victim's IP and his address. Now, first of all, we will be doing a basic command here. Just take a screenshot of the victim, what he is doing now. I written the screenshot command and just hit enter. See, screenshot saved to variable. The web server will define by us. So I will be opening that link. And what is that server name? MV. Let's reload here. So as you can see, there is a file created, MV VKV. So just open that file. See, our victim was on the victim system. There was opened an Internet Edge browser, and this tab was opened, which we can seen by the hacker. And here I am performing the next command, which will be shell. What does the shell do? Shell will be helping us to gain the access of the victim's command prompt. Just I hit enter and shell. See, the user names are victim name are coming. See user DB downloads, and we will be listing what are the directories in the victim systems are there. So I'm writing a command current directory dot dot, which will be going back to my main directory. I will be writing dir command, which will be showing what are the folders in the system of the victim. See, we can see contacts, desktop, downloads, favorites, downloads. So I will be here accessing the current directory command cd desktop. What this command will do, this will be taking the command desktop. So I will be creating a folder here by using make directory command test. See, just I had enter. I am on my server. I just take you to the victim system. So here we are. As you seen, there was no folder on the victim's desktop. They have created test folder. So next what we will do, I will go into this test and creating one more in that test also. So you can see on the victim system, there is one more folder created here. So I can remove this directory also, rmdir hack. So the directory is deleted. Without the knowing of the victims, what is going the background, all of the data can be hacked and can be used. As you can see, that file was deleted, will be not showing the recycle bin also. Next, I will be performing, just go back from this. I will be terminating this channel for execute another commands. So what I will be doing, I will be doing the key scan, which I discussed in the PPT. What does the key scan do? It will record all the victims' key scans. So here is, you can see key scans starting the keystroke sniffer. What I will do, I will here and open a notepad file on the victims as a victim. I will be typing this is the system which was hacked. This is the victim is typing, and what will we do? We will dump this. So command for that is scan dump. So what you can see here, first the victim open the Windows note, then I press shift for capital T, and you can see there, this is the system which was hacked. This is the keystrokes which were typed by the victim. Now, if there was any sensitive information at this place, that also was stored in the key string. Let me show you. As I'm running through system, big time. Let me show you by performing on my system. Let me just off my security first. So sometime I'm disabling my antivirus, so you can download the file. So we seeing that there is different systems. What I will do is run as administrator here to make it antivirus proof. So you can see the Metadata session to open. So we were seeing the key scan last. Key scan, I start again. The key scan started. So I will show you how it works. Just go to facebook.com and I will be entering my details. The fake ones. Yes, and there what? Just log in. I think this is the password. Someone has created also. So I can show you the term. What the capture? The victim has logged into the facebook.com. Then in the username, it is in test. Then I press the tab key and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then shift done. So this is the reverse shell and how it works. So coming back to our PPT. So I have done. So any questions? We can go on.
That is the presentation over.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, there are a couple of things I want to point out.
Yes,
See,
sir.
your presentation was very well explained. It was detailed explanation of the task. The demo part was good as well, although there was some hindrance, but that could be solved with the practice. And the rest, the demo was very good. It was a perfect
Thank you,
demo.
sir.
Secondly, see, talking about the PPT, you can actually improve on the formatting part because uh, my perspective about the PPT was it was very dry PPT. Like only text were there in every slide, and in some slides there
Okay.
were just too much text. So you can just split them in two slides, not accumulate everything in one slide. Use
Okay.
diagrams, use flowcharts, so that it will be more understanding about what we are explaining. Right? You use
Yes,
pointers
sir.
and then you are explaining them individually. So that was a very good point. But try to have diagrams or flowcharts so it will be more meaningful, right?
Yes, sir.
And there was very good use of examples in between the explanation of the topics, so that's a very good thing. And you started with a very good story. So in all, the
Yes.
presentation was very good, the demo part was also good. Just work on your PPT part, formatting part. Okay. And the rest, the presentation was great overall.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
So, yeah. So I had a doubt. So
Yeah, you can.
actually, like I can schedule. Yeah. So I can now schedule the next task
Yeah, you can
from my
study.
side.
Yeah, you can schedule next class.
Okay, because actually, sir, what I just emailed 2 days before the support email,
Mhm.
and I didn't get the reply, so I was waiting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's fine. I'll be marking this presentation as done. So
okay,
the next as soon as you schedule the presentation, you'll be getting that for your next task.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Right. So since it's already past 9, we'll be ending our presentation sessions now. A very good evening, everyone, and thank you.